Well, hello. This is another video from me. Today I'm going to be talking about the Democratic primaries and basically be analyzing what I think will be happening after the Nevada debates of today. Uh, Given the time zones, I do believe that it's going to happen in a roughly 11 p.m. for me. It's in Eastern. I believe they will start at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is roughly 5 hours before the debate even starts. I'm gonna be making my predictions about what happens, and essentially, I'm gonna start by talking first about how the situation is right now. So, of course, looking at the 538 forecast, we know that Sanders is currently the leading candidate. Um, he is expected to get the plurality of pledged delegates by a very large margin, 3 out of 5 in odds. And but there's a more complicated situation in that there is the possibility that he doesn't get more than half of the pledged delegates, which would earn him a win which would lead to him winning the Democratic National Convention and the nomination, and without even needing the super delegates, which let's face it, the super delegates are honestly how the DNC discovered a way to rig the primary so that certain candidates couldn't win. We saw this happen against Sanders in 2016. They basically made it very difficult for him to even have a shot at winning. He still did a bloody good effort, got pretty far, drew out the campaign all the way to the nomination, and there were some pretty egregious examples of rigging by the DNC. And once again, we saw some of it, you know, this year. We saw the Iowa caucuses, they were disgusting. I think that honestly, they ought to be scrapped for the next primaries if we even have them. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, there's a very real possibility that despite whatever happens in the Democratic primaries, there's gonna be some serious issues with the actual elections in November, and it is very possible that Trump might just decide the elections aren't going to happen, or make sure that the elections cannot finish, or of course they just old style rig it and have Trump win by however many votes he needs to win, but just a very minimal number of votes that earns him the victory against whoever the candidate is. So we'll have to talk about that in a future video, but for now we're going to start with the Democratic primaries and we're going to discuss, well, the trends from here on out before the Nevada debate, and we'll see how that materializes, how wrong I was, how correct I was, and we'll see what that means for the rest of the race. So first things first, I think it's important to take note that Bloomberg, despite being in fourth place here behind Sanders, Biden, and no one winning more than half of the pledged delegates, he still has a roughly 10% chance of winning, and he is picking up a lot of space in this election, in this primary. So it is very likely that he'll be the next main challenger against Sanders. So we can expect his trend line to keep going, just like that. Meanwhile, of course, we can expect Biden to eventually drop out, of course. So probably Biden is going to stay until Super Tuesday. So Super Tuesday is also important in that we have to see what Warren is going to do, and there's also a chance that Buttigieg might drop out after Super Tuesday. So about Super Tuesday, I think the important things to keep in mind is that Super Tuesday is going to have the states of Massachusetts, Minnesota, and of course California and Texas, as well as, good old Vermont. But here's the thing about these states. So, the main reason that we need to take a look at these 5 states in specific is to see how well the candidates from these states are doing. In the case of Minnesota for Klobuchar, Massachusetts for Warren, and of course Vermont for Sanders. But we also have to take a look at California and Texas to see who are the clear favorites for winning the primaries. Because California and Texas are the two states that award the most pledged delegates, and earning a major victory there is decisive for this campaign. I think that from Super Tuesday, the campaign is mostly over. Even though we're going to have so many states after it, I think the campaign is mostly over after Super Tuesday. So, whatever the case is, we're going to basically have the campaign decided by early March. Um, well, of course, we still have the debates left to happen. There's going to be at least 2 more besides the Nevada one. I don't know. I think the Democratic Party said something about 15 in total. So, this is looking at the chances of winning overall, but we have to take a look as well at the polls, how they're doing nationally and how they're doing in Nevada. Now, what I'm going to be doing essentially is I'm going to be predicting the results of the Nevada caucuses, and I'm gonna be seeing how close I am to that after the election results come out. But one thing that we do know is that there's a very high chance that the Nevada caucuses are gonna be pretty fucky again. There's a very real concern that the Nevada caucuses are going to be just as rigged as the Iowa caucuses. The Iowa caucus results, they came in again today or yesterday, I believe, and yet again somehow Buttigieg is ahead of Bernie Sanders, and it's by like 0.08 state delegate equivalents. I do believe that the Sanders campaign has already stated they will be seeking a recount again, and it's pretty obvious that what happened here is that Bernie Sanders won the the caucuses. I mean, holy shit, look at this difference in votes, especially in initial alignment. But fine, that doesn't necessarily count. What does count is how the other candidates will realign for the final alignment, of course. But still, I find it a bit ridiculous that somehow we had a situation where 0.08 of state delegate equivalents decides the election here. Uh, it smells very fishy, and it is very likely that what happened here is that the Iowa Democratic Party and of course the DNC in general, they just fudged the numbers and they just made it so barely Buttigieg wins, just to give Buttigieg that little boost he needed. And indeed, he got the boost he needed. After all, we saw the New Hampshire primaries. Uh, and of course, we saw that Bernie Sanders won, but by a very small margin compared to what was expected to happen. He was expected to get roughly 27% of the vote. He got 25.6, which can be rounded up to 26, but still. And of course, Buttigieg got 24, which was close enough that they both won 9 delegates. So, with that said, it is pretty concerning that the Democratic National, like the DNC is putting their hand on the scale so badly here that it resulted in this. Buttigieg somehow winning 24% of the vote in New Hampshire. I think we can take a look at the polling. Before the caucuses, Buttigieg was roughly at like 10, 15% at the very most, and then he just jumps up to like 24. A virtual tie with Bernie Sanders in some of the polls, even a win in one of them. It gave him a 10% boost here, which was just enough to make him barely be able to get as many delegates as Bernie Sanders, when it was expected that Bernie Sanders would get, I don't know, 10, 11, maybe 12 delegates, maybe even more, depending on how badly the vote was split between the other candidates. But of course, people coalesced around Buttigieg, and he just barely managed to give him 9 delegates as well. Amy Klobuchar also consolidated some of the vote and managed to get 6 delegates for herself. She's a major surprise in this campaign. But anyway, so going to Nevada, given what happened in Iowa, what do I think is going to happen in the debate and how that's going to translate in the results? I think that the debate is going to be a walkover by the progressives. I think most of the candidates on the stage, they're gonna be aiming at Bloomberg and Sanders, which are of course the two main candidates right now, because Bloomberg is on the rise and is probably gonna snatch himself some 20% of the vote very soon. I think there was a poll, the national poll, that put him at 19%, which is the poll that qualified him to be in the debate. So he's gonna be there polling in the low 20s, I believe, very soon, especially if somebody drops out after Nevada. So we have that situation where Bloomberg is on the rise, but we also have Sanders sitting very comfortably at the top. We have Biden in free fall, and we have Warren struggling to retain uh, relevancy. And of course, Buttigieg showing that he is basically just we would call it in Brazil a straw fire. Like, it burns very quickly. It burns bright, but it burns very quickly. And I think that's exactly what happened to Buttigieg. As soon as we're gonna have uh, a real primary, in a state that's more diverse, in a state that has um, more on the table rather than just white folks, we see Buttigieg polling very badly already, and Biden, of course, polling way better, and Sanders only caught up to him after the primaries already started. So, again, looking at the debate, I think that, yeah, it's going to be basically everybody trying to get a good old shot at Bloomberg. Bloomberg really doesn't have much defense. I've even heard whispers that Bloomberg wouldn't even turn up to the debate. We'll see what happens there. I think he will, but Bloomberg is a bit smarter than Trump, even though he's basically the same thing as Trump. He's a billionaire, he's there buying the fucking election. He's just gonna carry himself to the stage, as he already did. He made a donation to the DNC, and the DNC changed the rules so he could be in the debate. Frankly, ludicrous, but at the same time, it makes sense that they would have somebody who's polling at 20% on the debate. So, I think that it can be expected that Bloomberg loses some points afterwards, but we'll have to see. I think that Bloomberg nationally is gonna stick where he is, roughly 15%. Um, it remains to be seen what happens to everybody else, though. Warren is probably gonna be all out today, trying to get a good strike on Sanders, getting a good strike on Bloomberg. But it remains to be seen how effective she will be. And honestly, at this point, I believe that Warren, I mean, she doesn't really have a chance at winning the nomination anymore. And going back to what I said before, Massachusetts in the Super Tuesday, she's expected to lose to Sanders, and pretty handily too. Like, Bernie is expected to get some 31 delegates. She's expected to get 21. That's a 10 delegate difference. And that's the average forecasted. It might be even worse because she might lose points here at the debate. So I think that what's going to happen to Warren is that she's going to barely eke out, actually appearing, uh, actually winning any delegates and appearing on the among the winners of Nevada. But I think this is pretty much her campaign is mostly over already. As much as they might be talking about persisting, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think that Warren is gonna eventually. It's gonna be. She's on the downward trend. Biden may be stable because Bloom. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Uh, there we go. I think that Biden is gonna be stable. Um, he might lose a few points after this, but I think the Nevada results are gonna put him back in on the stage and make him be a candidate that has something to gain with being in the race. Also, there's going to be South Carolina, and I think that those are states where Biden is doing pretty well polling. So I think that Biden might just stand around there, maybe fall down to maybe a very minor decline. Um, on the other hand, I think that Bloomberg is gonna lose pretty big. Um, Warren, on the other hand, I think she's gonna stay relatively stable. And Klobuchar, I mean, honestly, she was another straw fire together with Buttigieg. I think the both of them. I think okay, Klobuchar might have a chance to really gain something here. So she might be on the upswing. But Buttigieg, at best, he stays stable. At worst, he continues free falling. And Sanders, I think, has a real, at least will be stable. I think he has a minor chance to gain some more points nationally. So I think that's how it stands. I'm sorry for the ugliness, but it's what I got. On Nevada, though, given that Warren is probably gonna be, I mean, okay, first things first, we have to delete Bloomberg because he's not on the ballot. He's not valid. So I'm gonna be looking at the. I'm gonna be making a few predictions here. Oh, hang on. I can use the text here. Sorry. So after the debate, I think that first things first. I think that Sanders is gonna have a slight gain. Biden is gonna be stable, perhaps even have a slight gain. Warren is gonna be stable, perhaps slight loss. Buttigieg is gonna be, I think straight up a loss right there. And from there, Stayer isn't going to be on stage, so I think we can expect that he loses points. Klobuchar is on the stage. I think she stays relatively stable. But here's the thing, though. For some reason, 538 has Bloomberg polling here, but that's wrong. He shouldn't be here. So for the result, I'm gonna I'm gonna be honest here. I think that Sanders wins out pretty easily. Um, is gonna get first. How many percentage? How much percentage? I think he's gonna get roughly. Well, there was a poll that put him way ahead, and that's the poll that's showing here that has him way the hell ahead of everyone. I think that's an outlier. I think that Sanders gets a pretty strong 30-ish percent. So I'm gonna say roughly 30%. For Biden, without Bloomberg, this is a 9% that we can just count out. You know, the Bloomberg votes just aren't here. So I think that Biden is gonna get a little bit of a get roughly 20%, which gives him a second place. Warren, on the other hand, I think she's gonna be just below 14%. I think she's gonna be like on the low tens. So I'm gonna bet on something like 13%. Buttigieg is gonna be is on the downswing. I think it's gonna be roughly 10%. Um, there's gonna be Steyer. Steyer, I think it can be expected to get some, also 10%. Klobuchar, again, she's on the upswing. I think we can both expect her to be at roughly 15%. So I think that's how it's gonna stay. So we have 50% between Sanders and Biden. Then we have some other percentages. We have roughly 48% among split among Warren, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Steyer. The percentages can obviously fluctuate. I think that the only ones that are going to be getting delegates, are going to be these six here. Buttigieg, Warren, Klobuchar, and Steyer. They have a chance to get some delegates from the congressional districts, but I'm not sure. But still, statewide, it might happen that only Sanders and Biden actually get delegates on statewide. So Sanders seems set to get a very good win at Nevada, and this win might become even more decisive with the Democratic debate that's going to happen today. I honestly think that Sanders might break 30% in the votes, especially after realignment. Now, what is a very real possibility, though, is that these guys they lose a lot of percents, a lot of points, percentage points on the votes, and therefore they become non-viable in a great many number of precincts, and they all have some sort of unwritten alliance to stand together against Sanders. With that in consideration, I think it's safe to remove these and recalculate the numbers. Those first numbers were what I expected in general, but here's what I'm going to expect if people band together against Sanders. Sanders is still going to get his 30% and is going to finish in first, of course. But now, the thing is, who gets the votes of the moderates? We have Biden, which is a pretty obvious winner here, but Biden might just win on his own. So he might just get some 20% and earn himself a second or third place. Now the thing comes in is who is going to be the third candidate that's going to be aggregating the vote of everybody else. And I think there's a very real chance that might be Warren or Buttigieg. And it remains to be seen, and it will depend a lot on the debates, who is going to be that person. But I'm going to wager a bet right now, and I'm going to say that Warren comes out weaker on the debate. And Buttigieg ends up aggregating some of the vote. And the Warren and Klobuchar people, which, are going to be the people with identity politics and other bullshit like that, voting on women because they're women, even though whatever their policies are, right? That's going to generate a further split. They're going to be allying with each other, and I think that they're going to be voting with each other wherever they can, which means that Warren and Klobuchar might just get some delegates from that. But I think that Buttigieg is going to get the lion's share of realignment votes and might even get some 25%. So he's going to get a second, or perhaps a third place if Biden overperforms. So this is how I think it stands, and I think that I'm just going to put like Warren in fourth, Klobuchar in fifth, um, because they might still get some delegates because they will be helping each other out. But I think that the that mostly Buttigieg will be getting delegates through this, and there might be another close race. I think it's more likely that Biden ends up being the aggregator, because Buttigieg might just do badly and just never win enough percentage points to really make a dent on Sanders. So everybody might just rally behind Biden. So I think that what's going to happen, in any case, is a very close race between Sanders and Biden, in which Sanders wins. So I made a lot of predictions trying to use these numbers, but of course we still have the debate, and I'm trying to predict what the debate will come out like. So I think that given a more lukewarm debate that just repeats the same beats, maybe Sanders gets a good hit on Bloomberg, maybe Warren does, but I think in general it's going to hold steady mostly, and the results are going to be for Sanders and Biden to be really close because everybody else is going to rally behind Biden. So that's how it's going to stand. From there, we can then be talking about post Nevada, how that will affect the national presidential polls. With Biden getting a good, strong second place, we can expect him to be on the uptick, which is going to be barring Bloomberg's momentum. Of course, at that point, I think we can say that Warren, Buttigieg, maybe Klobuchar, and Stayer's going to stay for South Carolina, but these three are out. They're dead in the water. Warren's pretty much already. Buttigieg has a very minimum chance if he does pretty well in the Nevada debate. So it's going to become a three-person race. And basically, after Warren drops out, most of her votes are going to go to Sanders. And Sanders is also going to aggregate some of the votes from the other candidates, which is going to put him at roughly 30% nationally. Meanwhile, Biden is going to be at like roughly the low 20s, and Bloomberg is going to stay stationary at roughly 20%. That's 70% of the vote divided between them. I'm putting an average here because I think that there's a real chance that Sanders just jumps out ahead and the race is pretty much over by Super Tuesday. But Bloomberg is also sticking a lot of money into this, and for Bernie Sanders supporters, it might be best if Biden does pretty well and once again sucks up the vote of the moderates, so that on Super Tuesday we have a pretty resounding Sanders win. So, yeah, I think that the Biden is going to come out okay in the debates, and I think he's going to be second in Nevada, behind Sanders, of course, and that's going to really hurt Bloomberg ahead. So, with that said, we can then talk about how that'll be like for the national campaign in general. And I think that what's going to happen, given everything we've discussed already, that these trends they're gonna they're I mean I think this trend in specific is gonna be reversed because of Biden's performance in Nevada. So I think that what might happen instead is that, let me see if I can get a good color here. I'm gonna use blue for Bloomberg. Bloomberg. Maybe it sounds a little bit close. So I'm gonna have. I think Bloomberg is gonna. Oops. Let me. It's gonna keep going, but then stall out and then maybe stick around here. Maybe jump up a little bit above 20%. But Biden, on the other hand, I'm gonna use red for him. Biden, on the other hand, is gonna is I mean Bloomberg is gonna be ahead of him, but then he's gonna do well on Nevada, and I think that's gonna put him just slightly ahead of Bloomberg. And of course, for Sanders, I'm gonna use green. I think Sanders is gonna be well, I think he's gonna reach roughly 30% ish, and he's gonna be sticking around here at at the 30% mark. Pete Buttigieg, is gonna flop. Klobuchar, we can expect her to flop as well. And then of course we have good old Warren. I'm gonna use gray for her. No, what can I use for her? Gold. I think she's gonna be relatively stable, but after Super Tuesday she drops out as well. Um, and of course the undecideds is only gonna go down and down and down. Of course, they're gonna stay relatively stable because there's gonna be three major candidates pulling out of the race, and it's gonna become a free candidate race. So I think that given the results of Nevada and South Carolina, Biden is gonna have an upswing, which will outdo Buttigieg, and for Super Tuesday, Sanders is gonna be looking so strong, man. I think that just taking a look at the general campaign, what I think is going to happen in Super Tuesday is that of course Sanders is going to win, and he's going to be going. Let me change the color here. He's going to be going super up, like totally expected that he just it's got the color here, right? I mean, it's expected he's going to go beyond like 50% chance. For Bloomberg, the chances are going to be like for Super Tuesday, the chances are going to go up until Super Tuesday, but then, it's just going to flop. And Biden is going to once again become the main challenger for Bernie, but at this point it's too late. So it's going to go up as well because of South Carolina, but then it's going to flop as well because they're going to lose pretty bad. Buttigieg is dead in the water, so I think that in general we can expect that Warren drops out after Super Tuesday, Buttigieg drops out after Super Tuesday, Klobuchar, and basically everyone else. I don't know why Tulsi Gabbard is still insisting. Maybe she wants to get all the way to Hawaii, but I think that's not gonna happen. She probably just wants to steal some votes from Super Tuesday. She's gonna drop out. Bloomberg and Biden and Sanders are gonna be the ones sticking around. And Sanders, I think, is gonna get more than half the pledged delegates. So with that said, boys, I'm gonna finish my video today. I'm slightly sick. I can't go on for too long. So like, subscribe, please comment. Tell me if you think I did something wrong. Tell me if I looked at some data wrong. I know I looked at some data wrong in the other video. The data still agreed with me, with my conclusion, but of course I was looking at the wrong data. So I apologize. I'll be more careful in the future. I'll be trying to use better tools, and I think that 538 here has some excellent tools to use. So we'll probably be using more of them in the future. And well, I hope the debates are pretty cool. I think we have a lot to be looking forward to seeing. And I hope that the night comes out favorably for Sanders because Sanders is my candidate. And I really hope that my predictions come true. That Nevada is going to put him on the upswing, South Carolina is going to confirm it, and Super Tuesday is going to seal the deal and is going to be de facto the nominee. And it's going to take some serious rigging from the DNC to stop him at that point. So we're going to probably see a lot of rigging in Nevada, but we'll see how bad it is. Probably there's going to be another scandal. So get ready for that, folks. Hopefully Sanders doesn't come hurt from that. And hopefully Biden is going to stick around to spoil them votes from Bloomberg. And we're going to see the progressives in the White House in November. Thank you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.